Hey everyone, it's Raina. So this video is looking at the full moon in Leo, which is occurring on January 25th at my time, which is Central Standard Time in the United States of 11:54 a.m. And if you're in Europe, this will be sometime in the evening. And I don't know if anybody will have it happen the next day. I think they will. I think they will, because there are some time zones that are like 16 hours ahead of me, I think. But anyway, so we'll say the 25th is the 26th of January. And this will be at 5 degrees of Leo. And the Native Americans called this the wolf moon. Some called it the snow moon, but there's another, I think February is the big snow moon month. And the wolf moon is called that because the wolves were hangry. They were hungry because of the weather. A little bit cold, I guess, for them. So they wanted food, I guess. So they were howling a lot. So at the time of every full moon, the sun is at the exact same degree of the opposite sign. So the sun is at 5 degrees of Aquarius, and because Pluto has just gone into Aquarius, it's forming a conjunction with the sun. And this is very powerful for a sense of individuality, but standing in that power. That's also true for Leo. And that's one of the themes of this full moon. When there is an opposition like this between the sun and the moon, or any planets that oppose one another, what is going on can be like relationship issues. When I say relationship, I'm talking about any kind of interactions that we have with others. But I would say projections can come out of this in some cases, because really when we're interacting with other people, sometimes when somebody is unhealed and yet unaware of that fact within themselves, they will tend to distort what they are hearing from other people, and they react with things that are really their own. They're like, they accuse other people of what they're really thinking and feeling, and they are demanding something that they're not even willing to give to other people. But Leo, to me, we think of the lion, and I don't know if the lion actually does represent courage. Maybe it does, at least in the Wizard of Oz, I guess. But to me, the ultimate symbolism of the lion is a sense of dignity, a sense of pride. And this is coming from a lack of toxic ego. I'm not talking about people who are arrogant. And that can be a shadow side of Leo, is arrogance. I'm talking about somebody who is standing in their power, but also the reason that they are is because they know who they are, and they accept who they are. When somebody is insecure, they don't feel okay about who they are, and so they're not accepting of themselves. And so the balanced Leo persona is very confident, and that's one of the reasons why. So in the tarot, the Strength card is connected to Leo, also the Sun card in the Major Arcana. And both of those cards are dealing with different facets of Leo. Leo in astrology rules the 5th house, which deals with love and creativity, and certainly that could be present here, but also children and the inner child. So not only like literal children, but the child that resides within all of us. And, you know, if you think about young children, they have no qualms about, I was going to use the word bragging about something that they did. They say, I did this and I did that. And somewhere along the way, they learn that that's wrong. You're not supposed to be excited about your accomplishments. And again, I know that there is a toxic version of that, an imbalanced version where people have to brag because they are insecure. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about feeling happy with our contributions in the world and things of that nature. And yeah, so Leo is a fixed fire sign, and Leo is associated with loyalty, steadfastness, which is the fixed modality, plus the fire, the passion, and life. So this kind of a full moon will be emotional in a passionate way, a little bit different than the water signs, where it's more personal, about maybe weepy about certain things in one's life. But this is more like that, what the sun card represents in the tarot, that joy, exuberance, and things like that. And yes, it can be drama for sure. All full moons can potentially bring drama to a situation. It depends on where it falls in your chart, how it may impact you specifically, but I'm talking about for the collective. You know, these types of readings are meant to kind of talk about the general energy around this full moon. And if we take January as a whole and think about the fact that Pluto is going into Aquarius like 5 days before that, it really is a changing of the guard. And of course, this is not an overnight thing. This is an ongoing story for the next 2 decades about we the people. This is a motto of the United States, but we could extend it to the whole world. Sometimes I read comments about, from people who are from other countries, and they, like if I'm watching an astrologer, for instance, and they will say something like, please do transits for my country, whatever it is. And, everybody doesn't live in the United States. And, I can totally understand how that would be annoying if, you're hearing about this other country that's not your country. But trust me when I say that the United States is very important. It's a linchpin, if you will, for the entire world. I realize that the United States has been pushed, to other countries as like, pay attention to this country. And I can understand why that would be irritating. But when it comes to the events that are happening, that are unfolding, that 2024 should very likely represent the turning point. The United States plays a crucial role in all of this. So don't just look at it as, oh, yet again, the United States. Realize that it will affect you if you live in another country. And all of these transits are for the people of this planet. So, what we need to realize is that we have a lot of fixed energy in general. The sun and moon, Aquarius and Leo are fixed signs, but Jupiter is in Taurus. We also have Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus has just gone direct. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Uranus is about to go direct a couple of days after this. So really, we have this Uranian energy, not only in the form of the planet Uranus, which happens to be in an earth sign, but also the fact that Pluto is going into Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus. So we can really get that spirit of revolution happening. And then when you add in the fact that the full moon is in Leo, that really highlights individuality. That's what freedom. That's what the fire signs represent. And a lot of people don't realize that they're not free until they really think about the alternative. A lot of people, it's like kind of like Stockholm syndrome, where they get used to being in captivity, and they almost develop this kind of affection for their captors. Well, and if somebody gets let free who has Stockholm syndrome, I'm sure that they are very anxious because they don't know what to do with that freedom. So this is very interesting. It's funny, when I said the word freedom, it was 11:11 on this recording, so I think that's a great omen. Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all in Capricorn. And actually, Mercury is forming a conjunction with Mars. So expect things, there could be fast breaking news. Full moons can bring something to our awareness and something to a crisis point. And that conjunction can mean that we hear a lot and we hear it very quickly. And there are a couple of squares from the sun and moon to Jupiter, which can indicate that there is some kind of excess going on in terms of emotions, as well as our perception of self. So we have to be careful when we are acting, because another aspect of this is that there's a square between Mars and Chiron. And this can mean that a person feels a sense of inability to, it's kind of like what I was just saying about Stockholm syndrome, a feeling of not being able to assert oneself because of the consequences. So what I take from this, being that there's all this revolutionary energy, and I should add that the sun is in Aquarius at this time too, is that people may feel like they want to be free, but they're afraid to kind of express that. And in the United States, there is a very good reason for that, because people have been made examples of, and those people, the people that we could call them political prisoners, and that they were entrapped into a certain situation. And we may see, I wouldn't be surprised, I don't know about during this particular full moon, but in the coming months, it makes a lot of sense that there may be some, protests, and there already have been. I mean, there have been, I'm talking about specifically in the United States, but all over the world, there have been mass demonstrations. And sometimes people ask, why do people demonstrate? Like, what is the point? And I'm talking about being an American. They talk about that. And that might actually be a good point, because it seems like a lot of times it's just to kind of let off steam and think that you're doing something. But I have seen in other countries that they've actually been able to change the policies by directly blocking things and you know, the operations of the things that they are protesting, like the farmers. I know there were Dutch farmers. I think Germany had some farmers that were protesting recently. So I wouldn't be surprised if these kinds of things flare up because of that sense of independence, but just realizing what you're capable of and not being too grandiose, because with the Sun square Jupiter, there can be delusions of grandeur, and then the Moon square Jupiter can be the emotional level overboard. Not to mention, there's an opposition between the Moon and Pluto. And for people who have this in their natal chart, I've read that this can be a sign of bipolar disorder. And it can be, remember, if you have this opposition, it doesn't mean that this is showing up this way. But when we think of bipolar disorder, we think about emotional extremes. And that's what oppositions are. They're extremes. And so definitely watch out for anything where even if like you're being whipped up into a frenzy, because that's the kind of thing that can happen. And remember, this is a really important thing, because I remember a few years ago when a certain event happened that whipped people into a frenzy. And I know my emotions were heightened, and a lot of people's were. There were protests, or all these things. And a lot of times emotional manipulation occurs because certain people want the public to react. And so it's very important not to take that maybe sudden information from that conjunction of Mercury and Mars and then act rashly. Or even like feel that sense of impotence with Mars square Chiron that can make a person feel even more like they have no power. Because actually with the Sun in conjunction with Pluto, there is that opportunity to step into your power. But power is not necessarily in the way that we think it is. Maybe one of the greatest demonstrations of power is sitting in the lotus position at home, listening to music and meditating. Maybe it isn't shrieking at the top of your lungs and doing it. It depends, because I think everything has its place. But I feel that revolution is in the air for whatever reason. If there's some kind of events that are occurring outside that seem to propel that, there's a definite possibility that that could be the case. I think this is going to be good for money, for manifesting money. Of course, this is an 8 universal year in numerology, so that's good in general. The 8th house in astrology is shared resources. But I was going by the fact that there's a trine from Venus to Jupiter. And there's also trines from Mercury to Jupiter and Mars to Jupiter. So the ideas that you come up with can be very fruitful. And the full moon is a very abundant time. And it's great, the Mercury trine to Jupiter is great for positive thinking. Mars square Jupiter, Mars trine Jupiter is great for taking action that yields fruitful results, positive results. Actually, this is a time where, especially a couple days after this, where all the planets are direct until the end of March. So you may have greater results during this time frame. So that can be indicative of that as well. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to say. I think I covered everything. Okay, well, I hope that you have a great full moon in Leo. If you're an artist, this is great for your creativity, for your ideas. If you want to fall in love, I mean, this is absolutely beautiful for that. Have a great time. Take care. Bye.